Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's service. We will begin with sutra chanting of Sanbutsuge, followed by the reading of the names, and then a short message, and then we'll close with the letter on white ashes. So we'll continue to have these services in spite of not being able to have the in-person memorial services, so we'll continue to have these weekly memorial services. And if you'd like your loved one's name read during the service, please fill out the Google form, which can be found on our Facebook and on the website. So we'll go ahead and get started with the sutra chanting of Sanbutsuge. Namman dobs, namman dobs, namman dobs, namman dobs. 仏神妙是が心象発願能意力所所欲自母生存知恵無下上量子孫知が信行軽量心知食毒中画行精進人流権南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム願にしくどく平等正祭道法大心往生安楽Namandos, namandos, 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 namandos. I'll now read the names for today's weekly memorial service. Mike Nishio, 7-year service. Shizuko Masuhara. Tari Takiko Ogawa, 33-year service. Shizuoka Yamamura. Yaeko Hatano. Hank Kishaba. You could please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandos, namandos, namandos. So, one of the things that I've been doing during the taking advantage of the time that we have while in this quarantine is I've been studying Japanese. So I was able to spend a year in Japan learning Japanese, and that was a fantastic experience. But my Japanese still really isn't that good since I was only there for a year. So I like to joke that my Japanese is about as good as a 1-year-old. Although, honestly, a 1-year-old is probably better than mine. But even though we're not there anymore, I still have interest in the language and the culture. I love visiting there when I can. And it is something that, I don't know, maybe is fun for me because it's puzzles. You guys know, you probably know that I enjoy doing like things that are puzzle related or something like that. And so for me, language is kind of like that, where there's these puzzles that you're trying to figure out what you want to say and then how you say it, and then going back and forth maybe from one language to another, and then reaching a point really where you don't have to think about it anymore and it just kind of like flows. And so that's really interesting and it's fun for me. But I've been trying to study Japanese also through different means. I have like some workbooks, and there's a lot of great online resources with vocabulary and then also watching like shows, anime, like different things that you can hear it. And when I watch the shows, I'll try to be listening and then also reading the subtitles to see how they translate it, and if there's something I don't maybe agree with or don't necessarily understand, then I'll try to look it up and figure out the grammar points from there. So there's quite a difference in English and Japanese as far as the grammar goes, and I could probably do a year's worth on why it's hard to learn Japanese as an English speaker. But one of them was that there isn't a whole lot of the use of, in the English word I in Japanese. Most of the time it's implied. And then to hint at or to give the nuance that something is happening to you, the directionality of an action or something, then they add these verbs at the end. And so that's very different than English, where we don't really imply the actor or the recipient of an action when we are saying a sentence at the end of the sentence, or even just kind of that directionality. It's very, very clear. We say, I do this, this happened to me. And that's one of the big differences that can be complicated for English speakers when learning Japanese. And it was interesting to me just because of not just the language, but also the culture. Obviously, we can't really prove that a language influences an entire culture because it would be too hard. It's too large in scope, and there's really no way to judge it in like a double blind or something. But in my opinion, I think there is some kind of relationship between the language we use, our linguistics, and the life that we live. We see the world through this certain lens of how we are able to talk about it, not just to other people, but then also to ourselves. And if we have the relationship with our language to the world in that way, then in my personal opinion, I think it affects how we interact with the world. So the difference then in English-speaking countries versus Japan, where they speak Japanese, is maybe this absence of always having to have the I, and rather having that either implied or just not included at all. And in this way, I feel like in English-speaking cultures, we're probably a little more focused on ourselves, and it's very subtle. It's something that's probably in the back of our heads, whereas in Japan, there is less of the focus on the self and more of the understanding of things happening to me. Instead of me being the agent and doing stuff, there's things happening to me, and I'm just like a part of it. And I thought this was important to bring up because as an English-speaking country, we kind of lack that kind of awareness or understanding of the world and that kind of attitude. But it's very Buddhist in my understanding, that if we can get rid of our ego, if we take ourselves kind of out of the picture, out of the sentences in our lives, it helps us to see the world and understand the world in a way that causes us less suffering. If we're always thinking about me, always thinking about I, things are happening to me like it's my fault, or I did that, or I'm not getting enough credit. If there's always this I, then it gets in the way of really truly understanding the world. Whereas if we keep that out of the sentence, if we understand the world around us and we see how we're the recipient rather than the agent, then we start to see the world in the Jodo Shinshu terms of being the recipient of infinite wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha's working. So I don't know really if Japanese people might get it a little bit better than people in English-speaking countries. Obviously, we can't prove it, but in thinking about it through this lens of maybe linguistic or societal, cultural understanding, hopefully we can try to see the world with a little bit less of us as the important, not seeing the world revolving around us, but seeing us as part of the world as it continues to move. And in doing so, it allows us to open up our eyes to see the world as it really is, and it will cause us less suffering and understanding that it isn't always about us. If you could please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, we'll now close with the letter on white ashes, which is a letter written hundreds of years ago by the 8th head abbot of our school, Rennyo Shoni. In silently contemplating the transient nature of human existence, nothing is more fragile and fleeting in this world than the life of man. Thus, we've not heard of human life lasting for 1,000 years. Life passes swiftly, and few among men can maintain their form for even 100 years. Whether I go before others or others go before me, whether it be today or tomorrow, who is to know? Those who depart before us are as countless as the drops of dew. Though in the morning we may have radiant health, in the evening we may return to white ashes. When the winds of impermanence blow, our eyes are closed forever, and when the last breath leaves us, our face loses its color. Though loved ones may gather and lament, everything is to no avail. The body is then sent into an open field and vanishes from this world with the smoke of cremation, leaving only the white ashes. Nothing is more real than this truth of life. The fragile nature of human existence underlies both the young and the old. Therefore we must, one and all, turn to the teachings of the Buddha Dharma and awaken to the essence of life. By so understanding the meaning of death, we come to appreciate the meaning of this life, which is to be treasured because it is unrepeatable. By virtue of true compassion, let us realize the unexcelled value of this existence, and let us live together with gratitude in our hearts. If you could all please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Thank you again for attending today's service. Hopefully we'll see everyone tomorrow morning at 9:30. Bye.